Week 14 of the 2025 NFL season is here. As the season comes to an end, we still don't have a Super Bowl favorite. This is your only place to get your 14-leg, low stakes, high reward, moneyline parlay. This is the Sunday Script. All right, everyone, welcome back. Week 14 of the Sunday Scripts. Like I said in the intro, we still don't have a clear Super Bowl favorite. Usually by this time we do. I feel like that's the discussion topic of all NFL media, including us today, because we are NFL media now. But it's nice to have a change of teams, right? We're not sitting here talking about the Ravens. We're not sitting here talking about the Bills. We're not sitting here talking about the Chiefs. Right? We're not sitting here talking about the Eagles. Of course, we'll dive into those teams, but we're not talking about them as the cream of the crop, right?
Not like the last decade.
No, which is nice. It's a nice change up, and maybe we'll talk about it during the show here, but maybe those teams' Super Bowl windows have closed.
It's possible.
Right?
It's possible.
Now we have teams with young quarterbacks coming up, and we're seeing the draft class of 2024 step up. So it'll be an interesting year for sure to end the year here. Last week, we went 12-16, so a little bit better from us. I'm disappointed in one player specifically when it comes to our parlay last week, but we'll get into that as the show starts going here. I think all the real scripties know exactly who I'm about to feast on during the episode, but we'll get into it here with the good old-fashioned Thursday night rinse. Funny enough that we didn't actually have an official Thursday night game last week. However, the game that we did rinse was the Thursday night game.
Yeah.
It's crazy
That's
how
why they fucking call it Thursday night rinse.
It's crazy
man.
how that works, isn't it? But we're going to get Al and Herb Street on this game. In Detroit, we have the Cowboys going into Detroit. Lions are -3, and the Lions are coming off a rinse to the Packers where Dan Gamble lives and dies by the sword, as always. I think the talk is now, is he becoming a detriment to that team, and is he really impacting their winning by going for it on fourth down? And now it is becoming a trend in the league. Whether it's a good trend or a bad trend, we'll have to see that play out for sure. The Lions' offensive line really struggled, and the interior of the line is still a concern. Of course, when you're going against Michael, that's going to be a tough match for anyone, regardless of the offensive line you have, because Michael's on a tear right now. And, Frank Ragnow wants to come back, but his hamstring is a complete rinse. I mean, we'll talk about it with Nick here in a little bit, but a grade 3 hamstring strain and fails his physical, and now he doesn't, he's not able to come back. So what was his mindset even going into that? That's a question there. Amon-Ra goes down in that game against the Packers, with an ankle issue. That was a big loss for the Lions in that game specifically, not saying they would have won, right? But Amon-Ra definitely makes a difference for sure. And with no Laporta, no Amon-Ra, the Lions might, crazy to say, they might be lacking the weapons they need to really make a playoff push here. Not to mention that Goof kind of needs a 30-year-old offensive guru to run the show for him, whether it's McVay or Ben Johnson, right? But on the other side of things, the Cowboys are hot, right? The Cowboys are coming off beating the Chiefs on Thanksgiving, America's team on America's Day last week.
Which we called, by the way.
We did call it, of course. Yeah. Defeating the defending AFC champions, and it seems the Cowboys are back, and Dak is back, although Dak never left. The big thing here is Matt Eberflus in the defense. He finally got his 3 technique. When he was in Chicago, the whole thing was, I need my 3 technique in order to be able to have my defense thrive, which is part of the reason they probably traded Michael and then got Quentin Williams, right? Because he probably didn't feel that Michael fit his scheme. And felt that they could get some good pieces in return, which they did. Celine Dion and George Pickens are the best 1-2 tandem in football, other than maybe Maurice and Jamar when they're healthy, right? But they're putting up way better numbers than Jamar and Maurice are right now. So Dak has a 1A and a 1B he can go to, and George Pickens might be the 1A. Crazy enough to say.
Yeah.
Cowboys, playing indoors in Detroit helps them a lot, right? It's kind of reminiscent of Jur's world.
Yeah.
And with that, the Cowboys are hot. The Lions are not. We're going to take Jura's team to go into Detroit and get a win when both of these teams are coming off 1 week's rest. This is not a short week, but it still is 1 week's rest for both those teams. We're going to take the Cowboys on the Thursday night rinse this week.
Yeah, it's actually kind of nice that the team doesn't get rinsed by playing on Thursday night. this week because they played both on Thanksgiving. So it is a full week for them. So there's no real like rinse element in terms of playing on the Thursday. But like Tim was saying, I think I speak for most of the crew. We're pretty hot on the Cowboys right now. After that Raiders game, they got a lot of weapons back, made some trades on the defensive side of the ball, and now their defense is top 5 in pressures and run defense, which was really their only problem, was that they just couldn't score enough points to match up with the defense rinsing.
Well, they couldn't stop anyone.
No, they couldn't stop anyone.
They couldn't stop anyone.
And that was becoming a real detriment to the team and contributed to their 5 losses and 1 tie as well, because they let up 40 points to the Packers too. So they beat KC on Thanksgiving, who, you know, maybe isn't that good, but it's still better than like rinsing to the shitters like they were before. And as Tim already mentioned, you know, the Lions get pooped on by the Packers, which was awesome. I mean, even Tim could probably agree that he likes watching the Lions get rinsed by the Packers, even though it is the Packers. Dan Gamble's back to rinsing on 4th down, as Tim was saying. He set the trend initially in the league now, and we've seen it really taken by storm this year specifically, I think. Lots of teams are going for it. Yeah. And lots of teams are going for it when they don't really need to. Kind of looking at the Texans. We can talk about that a little bit later. But that is a Dan Campbell, you know, identity thing that's proliferated throughout the league. But you know, now that you don't have your offensive guru, like everyone's hip to it, you know, everyone's like, oh, we're playing the Lions. They're going to go for it and they prepare for it. So, you know, I think it's just becoming a detriment to their team at this point. Yeah. Are we like at the Dan Campbell hot seat? No, I don't think so yet. I think Dan Campbell needs to get another offensive coordinator and stay the main figurehead and the culture guy. Going back to the Cowboys, I like Dak attack to Georgie Porgy, man. And then he's got Celine Dion on the other side. So like he's saying, they're both the ones. And something to think about, right? The Lions defense is good sometimes, bad sometimes. Yeah. You got Jordan Love lighting your secondary up for 4 touchdowns to, you know, Christian Watson and Dontavian Wicks. Like,
well, Christian Watson's good, but Dontavian Wicks is
he's good, but he's like a no name, you know. Yeah, so my point is like have fun with Dak, Georgie Porgy, and Celine Dion. Like, honestly, they're going to put up, you know, Dak's probably going to throw 6 touchdowns if they play like they did against the Packers. So, you know, we're obviously going to lock in the Cowboys, and we might be seeing a lot more of us locking in the Cowboys this season moving forward. Got a question for Nick, though, as Tim was mentioning. Should they have let Ragnow play through his hamstring sprain? Grade 3.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, it's showing something that we haven't seen in the league very much this season, is just a real heart for the game. I mean, if the dude's willing to play injured, I mean, my main question would be, is he going to be able to hold up? Not whether he should play or not. Because if he's got the skill and he's got the talent, then let him have it. He loves the sport.
I agree, and
I agree.
They get paid a lot.
Yeah, they get paid a lot. You know, you put your body on the line. It is what it is. Yeah. And they probably could have used him because their interior run protection was bad.
Yes.
We're going to move on now to a freaking snoozer, man. Titans at Browns. This is a little Charles Dickens. It's the tale of two shitties. You know, the Shedeur shine is kind of wearing off. You know, everyone was pretty excited to see him play. Now he's got 2 starts under his belt. This will be number turd. Yeah, the shiny brown, right? He's got 2 starts under his belt. Looks like he's going to be starting the rest of the season. They wait out Gabriel. I think they're measuring out Shedeur now. We'll see what he does the rest of this season. He is looking like a rookie 5th-round pick. But on the plus side for the Browns, it seems that the Kevin Stefanski Ferrari is out of the garage, and he's opened her up a little bit more for Shedeur than he did for Dylan Gabriel, I think. So Triple G, Garden Gnome Gabriel, he's going to be riding the bench the rest of the season. And that Triple G actually kind of works twice because he's our 3rd Garden Gnome.
Yes.
So double for you. Browns defense is going to win them this game, though, along with Quinshon Judkins. It's possible showcase from Shedeur because, as I always say, the Titans can't stop people from scoring points. And really, really what you're going to want to look at for this game is Cam Ward being the most sacked quarterback in the entire league by a pretty sizable margin, actually.
Yeah.
And Myles Garrett coming off the edge, who is the best at sacking quarterbacks by a pretty wide margin. So that's kind of a nightmare matchup. They're only giving the Browns -4.5. I mean, are the Titans even going to score? Like, this might be a shutout. I don't know.
We'll see.
We're down on the Titans. Their one win was a gift handed to them by the Cardinals, and they're not going to get another one. So lock in the Browns.
Yeah, we're approaching Christmas here, and the Titans definitely got a gift from the Cardinals over there. In October, I believe that was, right?
Yeah, Christmas came early for them.
Yeah. So Titans are going into Cleveland off a divisional loss to the Jags, only being able to manufacture 3 points. Tennessee's offense is just horrendous. They surrounded a number 1 overall pick with Calvin Ridley, who has been a rinse lord ever since he gambled his way out of a season. Tony Pollard is not who he was when he was with the Cowboys, and he was having success. So a bunch of washed bums surrounding a number 1 overall pick, and then you fire your head coach. Now you have an interim, and now you have 1 win. So that kind of ties the bow and finishes that for the Titans. And maybe they get another win this season. If you look at their schedule, it's possible. Maybe they get the Saints. So we haven't picked the Titans once this year, actually. Fun fact for you here on the Sunday script.
I mean, why would we?
Why would we?
Why would we?
I agree. But
Come on.
I don't know if Cam Ward's the issue. You got to give these guys time. Everyone has their own time frame, right?
Cam Ward's not the issue.
No.
He's not the issue.
No. There's multiple issues going on there. And the Browns are coming off rinsing to the Niners, and they did themselves no favors, muffing punts, and, Shadur's rinsing left and right. And we took the Browns as kind of a sleeper pick last week, which, at the time sounded fantastic, but the Niners just went in and kind of handled that game, although the Browns, like I said, did themselves no favors. And going forward, of course, is Shadur going to be the guy? Our assumption is no, and the issue is that this upcoming draft, has 0 quarterback talent in it. This is not the draft to be drafting a quarterback, unfortunately. So the Browns are going to be in limbo for another year, and they're going to suck again next year, unfortunately. Unless they bring back Joe Flacco. Maybe they'll do that and win 5 games or something. So we're going to take the Browns in Cleveland. Fuck LeBron. That's going to take us into an AFC North divisional matchup. Steelers versus Ravens. Are giving Ravens -6 here at home. And, good old Lamar. Good old Lamar Jackson coming off the classic Lamar rinse. We see it maybe 5 or 6 times a year, and especially in the playoffs, where Lamar always loses to the better quarterback. He always loses to the better quarterback, and he always folds under pressure. Clearly, he's injured still. And if you don't have a mobile Lamar Jackson, you just have Daniel Jones. I'm sorry, that's what you have. You have Daniel Jones sitting back there. Now, it wasn't all Lamar's. It's not Lamar's fault that Isaiah Likely just drops the ball, does his best A.D. Mitchell, Amiri G. Mercado impression, and he didn't drop, he fumbled. But still, it was a fumble. The guy knocked it out. But still, fumbling into the back of the end zone, the refs get involved on that PI. Lamar throws a pick on his own 2-yard line, then he throws a fumble. Literally throws a fumble.
Yeah.
And he barely gets rid of he on the downward motion, just doesn't release the ball and then fumbles. So just an awful, pitiful, uninspired performance from Lamar. And he might as well have just been better off, sitting home for Thanksgiving, maybe going to the chicken truck, to the food truck and get some chicken.
Yeah.
Smoking some weed and getting some chicken like he did before when he was hurt. And, on the other side of things, though, the Steelers are just as bad. I mean, the Steelers are in peril right now and in shambles. Aaron's calling out his teammates, telling them not running the right routes. They asked Aaron, what's the problem? And he said, not me. Like Nick always says, you got, point one finger, got 3-point right back at you, Nick, right? And the Steelers have misinterpreted the abilities of their senior home team they have. Jalen Ramsey's not as good as he was. Darius, it's not big play Slay anymore.
No. It's just Darius Slay.
It's just Darius Slay now. Cam Hayward sucks, and Aaron sucks, and my week 1 take is becoming very stale. The only bright spot is TJ Watt, but he's always hurt too. And with Aaron bad-mouthing his team, Mike Tomlin's definitely on the hot seat. I've been on the Mike Tomlin hot seat train for about a full year now, and that time has finally come. Mike Tomlin will not be the coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers next year, and if he is, that'll be a big mistake because they will be mediocre once again. And with all that, we're going to take the Ravens. After I just talked all that good on Lamar, he'll have a better game, a bounce-back game. This is in Baltimore, and Aaron just doesn't have it this year. He just doesn't. Ravens are probably going to win this division. Cincinnati's going to creep up, and Pittsburgh's going to be third in this division, which is sad to say for them. So we're going to take the Ravens here.
Yep. Locking in the Ravens. -6 they're giving them. I think it might get close just because these divisional games have been such a rinse regardless of who's playing where and who's injured. But as Tim was saying, we got the good old-fashioned Lamar rinse, the Thursday night divisional Lamar rinse. So we added a couple.
Make that acronym.
Yeah, added a couple to our acronym. It's a tight divisional race. They're both 6-6. Rodgers is going to be out for the foreseeable future, though. He got banged up on the face. His wrist is re-injured. So with that being said, Mason Rudolph is likely to get the start, and really, it's not even about Lamar and the Ravens. For me personally, I'm sure Tim would attest too, because he saw it live action. We've seen Mason Rudolph rinse too much to pick the Steelers. He's held it down okay, but he's not a starting quarterback, you know.
No.
Lamar's playing through an injury, but I think they're going to be able to lean on the run game, Derrick Henry, get some short passes, quick passes out. And the Steelers' pass rush is kind of whatever, where I don't think Lamar really needs to rely on his escapability and mobility as much this game. Ravens are at home, as I said, so it's kind of a no-brainer for us to just pick Lamar versus a backup quarterback. So we're going to lock in the Ravens, and with that, we are going to move into our favorite city in the country, Duval, Jacksonville.
One of them. Yeah,
one of them.
The Green Bay of the South.
Yeah, the Green Bay of the South. They're taking on the Colts at home in another divisional game. They're giving the Jaguars +1.5 at the opening line. Did the line flip?
No, it did not.
It didn't? Okay, yeah, the Jags are... We had a couple games where there was 1.5 that flipped. We'll talk about later. Jags are +1.5 at home. Daniel Jones is a fraud, and we've seen it time and time again. I told you guys at the beginning of the season to not get so hot on Daniel Jones, Indianapolis Jones, the whole saga, blah, blah, blah. I told you he's a rinse, and we see what happens. We called it way back when they played the Ravens. He plays a good defense. The system falls apart. Daniel Jones rinses. We saw it with the Rams. We saw it with the Chiefs. We see it with the Texans. And the Jaguars have a good defense too.
Yeah.
And especially with this is a massive divisional game, right? Because the winner now goes to 3-1 in the division, and the loser goes to 2-2. So that widens the divisional gap pretty much to a division that people were claiming was locked up, cinched up for the Colts around week 8. Mm-hmm. And now Jacksonville is sneakily crept up to 8-4.
Yeah.
They're 2-1 in the division. And I'm kind of liking the Jaguars to take this division. It's an absolute must-win for the Jaguars, must-win for the Colts as well. But the issue now is that you have a must-win game, and Daniel Jones, who I've already told you ad nauseum sucks, is battling a tibia fracture. So he's going to play with a tibia fracture. Not to change sports, but does anyone remember Kevin Ware? Yeah. Look him up. See what happens when you play Division I or professional sports with a tibia fracture. It's not going to end well. Duval's at home. They're going to bring in some Green Bay vibes with the hot piss in the pool. Lots of Millers drowning in there as well. And, as long as Trevor Lawrence doesn't rinse, which he's liable to do, the Colts offense is going to be pretty one-dimensional with the Daniel Jones injury. Jags will be able to keep the offense under control. They're going to rely too heavily on Jonathan Taylor with the lack of Daniel Jones mobility. Prevent Trevor Lawrence from rinsing, give him some easy wins, and they're going to run away with this game.
Yeah, Colts going into Duval, like Carm said, the Green Bay of the South, or I said the Green Bay of the South. One of our goals for this show is to be able to do a live Sunday script in the pool there.
We will one day.
In the pool in Duval, and we will one day.
And all you fans watching now are going to remember.
This. And when we do it, you're going to be like, I remember that for sure. The biggest thing here, though, I think that Carm didn't bring up is that the Jonathan Taylor machine is coming to a halt. Jonathan Taylor has had less than 100 yards in the last 3 games, and lo and behold, the Colts aren't as good when he does that. We were talking about Jonathan Taylor as the MVP. He might not even get the rushing crown record yards wise this year. It might go to James Cook because James Cook is slowly approaching that for Jonathan Taylor. And if he continues to put up 80-yard games, the Colts need to rely on Daniel Jones to win them games, which is not how you win games in this league, unfortunately. Sauce Gardner goes down with the calf injury. It's not an Achilles, so he'll be out for a month, but those calf injuries linger. So the Colts are not in a good spot, and good thing, everyone's saying it's week 8, the Colts are the best team in the AFC. Good thing we play 9 more weeks, because if that was the case, the Colts might have won the Super Bowl. And on the Jags side of things, they're able to beat the Titans, cool. I mean, we can't really take much away from beating the Titans. And Trevor didn't sell like he usually does. The big concern here, though, is do we get a good old-fashioned, Trevor Lawrence Jackson sell game? Does he just go out there to throw 3 picks and lose them the game somehow? It's always possible with Trevor. Maybe Liam Cohen is slowly coaching him out of that. But we expect the Jags defense to kind of be able to mitigate the damage that Jonathan Taylor can do, especially in Duval. Rowdy crowd. It's going to be a playoff atmosphere there. And like Carp said, we're going to take the Jags. The Jags are home dogs. I don't know why. That doesn't make any sense to us, so we're going to take it for sure. We would have taken it regardless. We don't look at the line, but just something to think about going forward.
Yep.
And with that, we're going to move into another stinker. Commanders at Vikings. Vikings are -1.5. When this opened, they were the underdog. I think some of that was probably the Max Brosmer, massacre they saw. Some say the Max Brosmer, whatever the fuck it is. The Max Brosmer masterclass.
Yeah, sorry about that one, guys.
It wasn't. I like to
astray.
say the Max Brosmer, whatever the fuck it was.
It was a master class turned to a disaster class.
The massacre. Yeah. And the Commanders, on the other hand, are coming off almost beating the Broncos at home on Sunday night, and that was a good game, We're going to chalk that up to the Broncos not being as good as their record says, though, and we'll get into the Broncos later here. And, Marcus Mariota, was making plays that need to be made, and he can definitely still win you some games. He's a very solid backup in this league. The run game for the Commanders is definitely their biggest strong suit. They're 3rd in the league in rushing. However, they go against the Vikings defense. That is still a stout defense.
Yeah.
It's still a good defense. They did well against Seattle. I mean, Sam Darnold didn't do jack.
No.
It was just the defense was just, eating Brosmer alive.
Yeah.
And JJ should be back this week. It should be better than what we saw from Brosmer, I would hope. If not, Minnesota's got bigger problems than quarterback almost. I don't know what they're gonna do. Maybe 9 needs to lose the face paint and that'll help them win. But I'm gonna expect a little bit better of a game from JJ this week and the Vikings defense to kind of step it up and win them a close game in Minnesota. We're gonna take the Vikings to get their 5th win this week on the Sunday script.
Yeah, as I was saying, masterclass turned disaster class. I think I kind of walked that one back on the show last week about it being a Brosmer masterclass, but that was a abysmal.
Well, the assumption is that he would that he got fixed by Cock.
Yeah,
you sit under Cock for that long.
Yeah,
and Cock's gonna fix you.
I guess not.
But I guess not.
Well, what happened was we saw why Cock would rather put out a dilapidated Carson Wentz instead of Max Brosmer with one arm, right?
Yeah.
Or JJ, because Max Brosmer, Jesus Christ. I mean, one of those picks he threw. One of my favorite plays in football history was last season. Will Levis versus the Bears threw the most god awful interception that I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, the Bears should have had 4 wins last year.
Go look it up. Will Levis is the most entertaining quarterback in football. But this one was, dude, I felt deja vu, man. It was like the exact same play except on the other side of the field. Ridiculous pass. Commanders lose that heartbreaker to Denver. Swatted pass on a 2-point conversion in overtime. But I think that just really kind of shows that Mariota can get it done for you. If he so chooses and is having a good night. Scary Terry was making plays. Dan Quinn's rallying the troops now that he's calling the plays on defense. They're still showing a lot of heart despite them most likely not getting into the playoffs. Jaden Daniels not going to play. He wasn't cleared for contact as of last night on Monday, so I'd be surprised if we saw him in this game. Vikings opened up as a home underdog and then flipped to home favorite, -1.5. They were +1.5 on the opening line. Maybe some sharp money's coming in on the Vikings, like us, because we're picking the Vikings this week.
And we are sharp.
We are very sharp. Bengals at Bills. This is going to be a heavyweight QB matchup. I'm kind of surprised that this game wasn't scheduled for prime time. You got Joe Burr, Joe Stool, who's now back to being Joe Cool now that he's back, versus Josh Allen, who, shout out to him, just broke the QB rushing touchdown record. Dethrones Cam Newton, who held that record a lot longer than I thought he did, by the way. Josh Allen breaks a touchdown record, but you kind of see with the Bills this season is, I think part of the reason that he did break that record is because the Bills offense is really all Josh Allen.
Because he needs to.
They're turning the ball over more than they're used to, but I mean, it's just, once again, Josh Allen is forcing plays because no one else on their offense is really doing it. Both the defenses are really bad, Bengals and Bills. I think the Bengals defense got a little bit of a spark now that they know that they're competitive with their star quarterback. I'm definitely expecting this game to be a shootout. Don't expect a lot of defense on this game. The Bengals have a all right run game. They got Jamar, the Jersey spitter. They got Tamoreese on the other side. And I really think that the receiving threats on the Bengals side of the ball, we can put Joe Burrow and Josh Allen's quarterback play in a similar realm, right? But Josh Allen's not throwing to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins.
No.
So I'm going to give that little X factor push toward the Bengals. We're going to lock them in on the road and see if they can maybe sneak into the playoffs.
Yeah, Bengals are coming in after pooping on Lamar in Baltimore. And the biggest story, of course, is the return of Joe Burrow. And, he definitely provides that Tyrod Taylor spark, that Tyrod Taylor-like spark that the Jets had.
Yep.
Yeah, and I just did compare Joe Burrow to Tyrod Taylor. So more Tyrod to come later in the show. But it seemed to flow, that spark, through all three phases. The defense balled out. And it was the worst defense in football prior to last week, right?
They were on pace, but they were on pace to be like one of the worst defenses in the history of NFL over a season.
Yeah.
Like, they were historically bad, not just this season bad. Anyway,
so even the defense believes that they can play better if Joe Burrow's the quarterback, And on the Bills side of things, they had to run the ball all game to beat Pittsburgh. And, don't be a box score enthusiast, but that was a close game until the end of the third quarter, 7-3 until the end of the third quarter. But this shows the Bills' inability to really get any offensive momentum. It's kind of been the talking point for them all year, is their lack of weapons. But hey, they had Gabe Davis. Cool. Gabe Davis is great. The Bills should have been able to throw the ball more productively, considering Caleb did the week before, and they just still couldn't. And the Steelers' defense is in shambles, right? And
Absolute
they still couldn't throw
shambles.
the ball with Josh Allen. And the defense played well, but like I said, the Steelers' offense isn't anything to write home about. So we're going to take the Bengals. We're going to take that Joe Burrow spark, and kind of like last year. If you remember the end of last year, they made that big push to kind of get themselves into the playoff conversation. I remember that game against Denver was fantastic at the end of the year last year. But Nick, so on the Joe Burrow Bengals side of things, do you think the Bengals can make a push? And, Joe Burrow being back, does that make that big of a difference? And do you think that feeds the whole team? And now that they can believe that they have a leader that can lead them to wins?
I don't really think so. I mean, I think that right now the Bengals are falling for that bear fever that the Bears have had for years prior, that, the quarterback makes the team. But at the end of the day, the quarterback just does one job, and it's not the only job on the field. So I've never been too confident in Joe Burrow's abilities prior. I mean, he's got a good arm, he can do a good job, but I genuinely don't think that he's the savior that the Bengals need to make the playoffs. I think they should be focused on getting the picks.
Yeah, he might not be the savior that they need to save this season. This season might be in the coffin. However, he is definitely better than Jake Browning.
Yeah, he's definitely better than Jake Browning, and Joe Burrow, whether he is one man or not, will elevate just about any team in the league.
Right, and he will probably save Zach Taylor's job, actually.
Yeah.
He's got a good name, and I'm sure his marketing is great, but I think that's just about it.
I'm sure. That'll move us into an AFC East matchup. We got the Dolphs going into MetDeath to play the Jets. Dolphins minus 2.5. So they're giving us the Jets underdogs at home again, like they did last week. Jets get their third win of the season after winning a close one against the fraudulent Falcons, and special teams is always seeming to play a big role for them and getting them wins. And, the Jets clearly should have made the quarterback change to Tyrod sooner. I mean, I don't understand why they let Justin Fields play that many games. If you have a capable quarterback, plays can be made within the Jets offense. It wasn't what you were looking for because the special teams had to, step up. But A.D. Mitchell redeems himself with a deep touchdown after rinsing in Indy, right? And then you hear Garrett Wilson's name more. You actually have someone that can throw him the ball. You paid him all that money, and Aaron Glenn might just be saving his job at the moment by making that quarterback change. And maybe, like you said, he should have done it in week 5 or something. Yeah. After that international rinse, he should have done it, actually. But the biggest thing for this game is the weather. It is going to be 40 degrees in East Rutherford, New Jersey on Sunday. And Tua is 0-8 anytime he plays below 45 degrees. The biggest problem for Miami that the NFL kind of screws them over with is putting them in that division. Because then they have to go from Miami to New England in December, from Miami to Buffalo in December, from Miami to New Jersey in December.
Yep.
Right? And they have the benefit of playing home games in September when it's 110 degrees and then giving themselves shade. Yeah. So they have that benefit, but they can't play in the cold. Right? So the only way the Dolphins are ever going to be able to win a Super Bowl is if they're the number 1 seed and the Super Bowl flows through Miami. Mm-hmm. Right? And that's definitely not happened this year. I'll tell you that right now. The Dolphins have won 3 straight. No way they win 4 straight. They're not a good team. Jets get a little win streak going here. We're going to take the Jets win again for the second week in a row this week on the Sunday Script.
Yeah, I guess just don't end the season yet.
No,
because
keep it going.
The Jets are not looking too bad with Tyrod. And if you guys recall, I said it when Justin Fields first got injured earlier in the season. I said, thank God they're starting Tyrod this week. They're getting a break because Justin Fields is no longer throwing them the ball. He got healthy, and they decided to put him back in when Tyrod was outperforming him on his injury week.
Yeah.
Tim was mentioning, they do have to go up. The Dolphins have to go up and play in the cold, and Tua is god-awful in the cold. The Dolphins are in the hunt still. They need a lot of stuff to happen, but Simple Jack is inevitably going to rinse. Playing in Miami, even if it's 110 degrees out, is nothing like playing football in the cold. Everything stings more. The balls are harder to catch. You can fumble the snaps easier. It's just a rinse. I'd rather play football in the hot over the cold any day of the week, any month of the year. So Tyrod was actually looking very solid against the Falcons. I think that was he threw some bombs down the field. They win the game, and we kind of knew that was going to happen. We picked the Jets for 2 reasons. We knew the Jets were going to win. The Falcons suck ass, first and foremost.
We got a Falcons pick right this year.
Yeah. I think they're like our first Falcons game
Falcons
we picked right because the Falcons are so bad.
Yeah.
And 2, as I've been saying for years now, Tyrod Taylor is an elite quarterback, and he hasn't been given the proper opportunities. So we're going to lock in the Jets at home in this divisional rinse. We're going to move into ATL now after I was just shitting on them. The Falcons are taking on the Seahawks. Battle of the Birds. Taking on the Seahawks at home. And I kind of got into it already. They just rinsed to the Poverty Jets. They're done. I don't think this team was really ever the same after what Tom Brady did to them in the Super Bowl. That was a mega rinse that kind of just never stopped. They, 28-3 and then game over. Bijan, as Tim always says, Falcons are only going to go as far as Bijan takes them. And I think every team in the league is kind of hip to that now. And he hasn't been super productive. They got Penix out. And we got the Legion of Boom fully back. So stat pad a little bit from courtesy of Max Brosmer for the Legion of Boom, throwing 4 picks. But they're still really legit. I was saying that even before the Brosmer game. The Legion of Boom's really good. Falcons offense is, I don't even know. I don't know what to do with the Falcons.
No, they suck.
They suck, but sometimes they win. They're so annoying. But as I was saying, we're all down on the Falcons on the script. We're going to take the Seahawks on the road, who I told you guys like week 3 play better on the road anyway. So lock in the Seahawks. Sam Darnold's going to get it done.
Yeah, Bijan had himself a good game against the Jets, but it wasn't enough to propel them, to a road win. And the Falcons' defense has been horrendous recently, and Raheem Morris's job is clearly on the hot seat. Raheem Morris will not be the coach of the Falcons next year, and whether it's Kirk O'Chains or Penix, the Falcons are just a rinse. They're kind of like a dollar store Panthers, They're too inconsistent. At least the Panthers win, right? But the Seahawks are coming off dominating Brosmer, like we said, showing how elite their defense is. And say what you want, you played Brosmer, but it's still a cock offense.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So it's still got some wrinkles to it for sure.
LOB is back.
Yeah, and Sam Darnold didn't even have to do much. 100 yards, and I think he knew go into that game knowing that Brosmer would rinse, and he wouldn't even have to do much. And this brings up the question: do we see another NFC West team lose to an NFC South team like we did last week when the Rams went into Charlotte and lost? This is a long trip. I am a big proponent of the long trip.
Yeah.
And
it
screwed us over last week. However, the Falcons are just so bad. I can't sit here and take the Atlanta Falcons and just rinse the script. I just can't. Even if I am a big proponent of the long trip. But like Carm said, the Seahawks play better on the road anyways. So we're going to lock in Sam Darnold and the Seattle Seahawks for sure.
This episode of the Sunday Script is brought to you by Sentence Enhancers. Words are tools. Some cut deep and other build bridges. In this book, it'll help you recognize new words to use, as well as help you improve your communication both at work and in everyday life. Buy Sentence Enhancers now on Amazon.
That moves us into an NFC South matchup. Saints are going into Tampa. Bucks are minus 8.5. Saints are going in after losing to Miami, and oh shucks, didn't really play that well. And the roof is caving in maybe on the baby food eater for sure. I don't know what they're going to do at quarterback, too. They're in quarterback limbo just like the Raiders are going to be, just like the Browns are going to be, and just like the Saints are going to be. Kind of a common denominator there, Three shitter franchises, right?
Yep.
The Saints stayed alive by receiving an onside kick, but couldn't finish it all. And the Bucs nearly choked away a win on Sunday, but they built up a big enough lead to be able to pull it out. And shout out to Jacobo for kind of making that game a little more interesting. And Tristan Wirfs gets the first offensive line touchdown of the year, not Dan Skipper. So,
oh man,
if only you had that in your parlay, you would have hit that for sure. And Tampa should be able to win this game easily and keep their lead in the NFC South. I don't see the Saints going into Tampa and winning a game. It's a divisional game, and Baker might be hurt, but he's just better quarterback. We'll take the better quarterback and the better head coach this week. We'll take the Bucs to beat the Saints.
Yeah, I'll take a little bit different angle. The Bucs are a better team, better roster, better, at least maybe not a better coach, but he's been there longer to really get his, fingerprint in the system. I think that this game actually might turn out to be a little bit closer just because these divisional games are always really hairy. And, it's possible that the Saints come out with their hair on fire and just kind of want to fuck over a divisional opponent in their playoff opportunities. Yeah. So we've seen that happen before. This is a divisional game, and I've said all season too. Tim's get a little bit down on the baby food eater, Kellen Moore. But those boys out in New Orleans are playing hard for him still. So their season's over. They're 2-10. They're not going to win a whole lot of more games, if any. But this could be a team to watch for a big comeback season next year. If they figure out their quarterback play and spend their draft capital wisely, they'll be able to maybe do something next year. Bucks have a better roster. Defense is more consistent even with the injuries. So, Baker's still hurt. But we saw that, he was under 200 yards passing, 50% completion, 1 touchdown. He's limited for sure, but the Saints are they need to reset until next year. We're going to lock in the Buccaneers at home. And that will take us into Las Vegas, where we're getting all these betting lines from, taking on the Broncos, which we actually kind of just saw this game not that long ago. So this was one of the most boring Thursday night rinses of the year for sure.
It's almost like it's a shittier product.
Yeah. It was definitely a boring, low-scoring game. Yeah. Defensive masterclass on both sides of the ball. But the Raiders are just so bad. Tom Brady's going to go in there, fire Geno Smith, fire Pete Carroll. He already fired Chip Kelly. They just need to full stop, reset, figure out what the hell they're doing. You got Brock Bowers, you got Ashton Genty. Get a real quarterback. Sorry, Geno, I love you, but get a real quarterback, fix your offensive line, and develop an offensive identity, because you could see it like 2 weeks ago. Their defense just like the only one that's actually trying on defense is Max Crosby because he got paid a bunch of money.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But like the guys are half-assing it. No one wants to play. They're 2-10 like the Saints, you know. But the question in this game, I fully expect the Broncos to win this game. The Broncos defense is good and the Raiders offense is bad. But I mean, maybe the Broncos defense might be a little bit on fraud alert after that game we just watched last night.
Yeah.
Because Marcus Mariota and Scary Terry and a couple of other weapons on the Commanders tore them up a bit, took them into deep waters overtime, and let it down to their defense, who did make the play at the end of the game. So fraud alert, we'll say. Bo Picks, he's back at it again. He's throwing picks, almost rinsing, but their offense should be able to do just enough against the Raiders, who, like I said, their defense, Max Crosby is the only guy trying. Their offense will do just enough, sneak this one out on the road, and improve to 11-2.
Yeah, Broncos, the biggest question is, can they keep, like Jesse Pinkman, can they keep getting away with it? They can't keep getting away with it, right? They can't keep getting away with these one-score wins, and it's eventually going to bite them in the ass. And Sean Payton saying that's what makes a Super Bowl team, which is a good point, right? But if they were pooping on all these teams and then squeak away a road, primetime game, then I could hear you saying that.
Yeah, but when it's all your games,
when it's all close games like that, and Bo played another mediocre game, and they're living to see another day somehow, and I can't really say more about the Raiders. The Raiders are the Raiders at this point. Fire them all. This is Tom Brady's fault. And I know how hard that was for Carm to say that Geno's a rinse because,
I love Geno, man.
Geno.
I love Geno.
He loves Geno, and we've been, saying a lot of no when it comes to Geno this year.
Yeah,
and
it's time for him to hang it up, though, man. He was really good in Seattle, but it's over with.
Yeah, we might see maybe 10 sacks for the Raiders. I mean, not for the Raiders, for the Broncos this week against that porous offensive line, right? But that's going to move us into Rams. Rams are going into the red zone. Whose house in the red zone, and they're going to take on the Cardinals. Rams are minus 8.5 on the road, which is a big spread for a road team against a not awful Cardinals team, but we'll get into that right now. Rams, maybe they counted a win before going into Carolina, right? And Stafford had an uncharacteristic game on his MVP run.
Yeah.
You get those every once in a while. That's fine. The weather might have played a factor, and Sean McVay is saying he should have, continued running the ball. Well, then maybe he should have kept running it.
Yeah. Hindsight's 50-50.
Yeah, exactly. And people are saying this doesn't have an effect on how they view the Rams as they move into the number 2 seed. Because what were they going to do? Win 15 games? Were they going to be 15-2 this year? Probably not, right? It's hard to go 15-2 and lose 2 games in the NFL. Any given Sunday, anyone can win a game, especially for that long trip to Carolina. Cardinals are coming off another close loss to the Bucs, so another close loss for Jonathan Gannon, and they're going to get him fired eventually. Jacobo's not saving his job, and when Jonathan Gannon's gone, then you can say bye-bye to Kyler too, because those two are both getting shit-canned for sure. This should be a Rams win. This isn't a far travel game. It's a divisional game, but Arizona's eliminated from the playoffs, and Marvin Harrison was doing an interview, and they were like, "So since you're eliminated from the playoffs," and he was like, "What? We're eliminated from the playoffs now?" Yeah, no shit. You guys are what?
Too many concussions, huh?
I know. But we're gonna take the Rams to go into the red zone and make it Rams' house, which it won't be, but it's just funny to say.
Yeah. Whose house at the Cardinals? Tim was saying, the Cardinals came off another close loss, and that is one team who I'm honestly not that down on, despite their, elimination from playoff contention, 3-9 record. That's a team, we were just talking about the Broncos are a lot worse than their record says. The Cardinals have gotten the short end of the stick a lot this season. A lot of it's their own doing, but they're a lot better than their record says. It's a divisional game. But, I mean, I'm just not going to bet against Stat Padford, rinsing to the Panthers and then rinsing also to the Cardinals in a divisional game. I don't see it happening. Stat Padford, he broke his touchdown to interception streak, no interceptions, threw one in the end zone. Bad play. they threw that game away for themselves against the Panthers, but I have full confidence in the Rams, taking out the Cardinals. So nothing really more to say about that, because I want to get into the game of the week. It's finally time. I'll do it a little bit more because we've been waiting. You guys know I don't like waiting all season to cram these divisional games into the back of the season, because we got the Packers at home taking on the Bears. We are excited for this. You guys know I'm a huge Packers fan. Tim and Nick, huge Bears fans. So we're definitely going to be watching this game. We watch all the games, but this one, I think everyone's tuning into this game. We were just talking before we started the show, man. Tickets are double the price of the next most expensive ticket for this game. Yeah. Everyone's excited. The Bears are pretty good this year. The Packers, despite a couple rinses, are still looking really good. So we got a lot of things to break down in this game, honestly. Bears strong run game versus Packers all right run defense, right? Got Packers awesome red zone defense. Bears still kind of whatever in the red zone. Packers top 5 red zone offense. Bears 26th red zone defense. The key to this game is going to be for the Packers to force Caleb to throw, because Ben Johnson likes to hammer the run, open up some easy passes for Caleb, get the ball down the field. That's what they do. We're going to take the Bears on this one. Call it a gut feeling. They're giving the Packers -6.5. I think that's egregious. I'm going to come out and say this is one of the biggest games of the year. The Bears are hot right now. The Packers are hot too. Justin Love has thrown 9 touchdowns or something over the last 3 games. So he's on fire. It's Toyota-thon. We're going to take the Bears, but it is Toyota-thon, so maybe we get 9 touchdowns from Jordan Love and Lambeau. But in terms of our parlay, lock in the Bears.
Yeah. So last week the Packers go for it on 4th down on the half mark to end the game and kind of show Gamble how it's really done.
Yeah.
Right. And their defense showed up big time, really disrupting Goof's timing. Goof is a statue. Caleb is not.
No.
Caleb and Goof could not be complete polar opposites when it comes to pocket mobility. And Jordan Love had a great game, living and dying by the deep ball, which has kind of been the trend for the Packers this year. He gets that big play to Christian Watson, that 50-yard touchdown. And Josh Jacobs comes back. He showed some speed. And Eric Wilson, I know that's not his name, but that's what I'm going to call him at this point. Eric Wilson's making a name for himself and maybe making this a running back by committee, right? Mm-hmm. The biggest thing for this game is going to be which Jordan Love are we getting? Yep. The Bears lead the NFL in takeaways, and Carm can agree with me. We have seen Jordan Love just give the ball away.
Oh, yeah.
Plenty of times to where you're wondering, what the fuck are you even doing? And against a team that is looking for takeaways, who turned Jalen Hurts over twice last week, that could really, change the outcome of this game, especially this game. And, the Bears are coming off, dominating the Philadelphia Eagles on the offensive line. I mean, just moving Jalen Carter.
Honestly,
moving Jordan Davis. I mean, they were just moving the whole line. Yeah, just the huge gaping holes.
To the point where, the Eagles' front is supposed to be, extremely fearsome, especially on the interior. And the Bears, actually just made them stop playing.
I know.
It was the 4th quarter, and they were still 5, 6, 7 yards a carry every time.
Yes. That
is not what the Packers want to do. And then on the one point, the Bears defense has absolutely lived and died by creating turnovers.
Yeah.
It is not a defense that is going to necessarily stop you on 3 downs and force you to punt, any of that. They stop people from scoring by creating turnovers, which is, it's a live and die by the sword kind of mantra. The Packers don't turn the ball over, it could get ugly for the Bears. But as Tim's saying, Jordan Love, he's a really good, but he is liable for just some of these what the hell are you thinking throws. And the Bears have been really good at taking advantage of that this season. So I don't know if I necessarily trust him in this game, especially with all the deep balls they're heaving.
Yeah, and Carm says, make Caleb throw the ball. But at the same time, we've seen Caleb win games for the Bears with his arm. So, it's not like you can. It's not Daniel Jones. I know you were making fun of him last week and saying, "Oh, the Daniel Jones special." But when it's 20 degrees and the wind's howling at 20 miles per hour in Philadelphia, both teams,
that did play a big factor.
Both teams couldn't throw the ball, right? So you're just going to run the ball, and it's going to be a cold one here in Green Bay, and probably the best thing for your team going into playoff football in the cold is running the ball and taking the ball away. That'll travel anywhere in the league. And don't look now, but the Bears are the number 1 seed in the NFC. So I will bask in that glory for a little bit because, like I said a couple weeks ago, it can be taken away from me like that. And I will enjoy every fucking second of it. So suck it. Bears are number 1 in the NFC right now. But that can change next week. However, we are going to take the Bears. This could be like last year. Last year was the away team divisional split. Right, we might see that on the block kick by the Packers in Soldier, and then when we were there for the glorious game winner against the Packers
against
week
Packers,
18.
Against Packers third stringers.
Against actually most of the starters played until the third quarter, and then Midget LaFleur took them out. But that's besides the point. That's last year.
They won 5
games.
a whole different team.
But Nick, this is a question for you after this long-winded conversation. Whoever wins the first game, do you think that this is a sweep, or you think this is just an inevitable divisional split?
Dude, this is probably the toughest games. This will be the toughest games of the season. At least watching it. I mean, the Packers are still kind of beat up. Josh Jacobs is pretty hurt, although back on the field. And then Tucker Kraft out for the rest of the season. So I know that's a huge hit to the Packers.
Yeah, it was a hit to your fantasy team too.
No, we're still number 1. Let's go.
Let's go, Nick.
Following along with that, though, then when it comes to the Bears, I mean, the Bears are good, but I don't want to say great just quite yet.
I agree with you. I won't say they're great, but
I really think that what the Bears need to do is kind of get their system airtight, because the Packers system, regardless to how you want to put them, it's airtight. I mean, they know what they're doing all the way around. The machine runs pretty well, and I honestly, when it comes to winning this series, I would be thinking that whoever wins this game will lose the next game, because the rivalry is too big to kind of get swept on them twice before Christmas.
I agree. And the Bears are much better coached this year. It's not even funny.
It's not even close.
It's not even close. Eber lose.
Man. Jesus. I almost felt bad for Bears fans last year.
Yeah, last year was treacherous, which makes this year much more enjoyable. But we'll get off the game of the year, which is what that is. And we'll get into another good game here with some AFC playoff implications. Texans are going into Arrowhead to play the Chiefs. The Chiefs are the home favorite, that 3.5 classic Vegas 3.5 spread, right?
Yep.
So the end of a dynasty is never pretty, but that might be where we're at with the Chiefs, man. It might be. We haven't been that hot on the Chiefs all year, really.
No, and we picked them on some rinse games, but we haven't been like the Chiefs are,
no, the Chiefs are not
win every single game.
No, the Chiefs are nothing to write home about this year. And after winning 12 one-score games last season, they're now 1-5 in similar games. And that includes that rinse to Dallas that they lost on Thanksgiving. And you can't really point to one issue and be like, this is the reason why the Chiefs suck.
No,
I've been saying it all year. The Chiefs have been to 3 straight Super Bowls. That's a lot of football. It's a lot of football games that they've been playing for the past 3 years. Eventually, that eats at you, right? And it slows you down a little bit. And, the rushing attack isn't good enough, and Pacheco's been hurt a lot of the year. And that's not going to be great because this Houston defense is legit, man.
Yeah.
This Houston defense is legit. And the Chiefs' O-line hasn't played that great either. And, the Texans own the NFL's number 1 defense with 16.5 points per game on a 4-game win streak. And lo and behold, after going 0-3, the Texans might win the AFC South.
Yeah.
They don't even need C.J. Stroud to win them games, which he can, I think, at times, and he's playing a little bit better. But really, the hero of the Texans season is Davis Mills. I mean, Davis Mills wins you 3 games. Without Davis Mills winning you those 3 games, they are nowhere in this conversation.
Not at all.
At all. So shout out to Davis Mills. And Texans defense is carrying them. We're going to take the Houston Texans to go into Arrowhead and get a win. This is a much-needed win for them, and the Chiefs are on the down, man.
This is a massive game for both teams. The Chiefs are staring down the barrel of missing the playoffs. Let's just call it like it is. They have been very underwhelming this year. They're old. Like Tim was saying, they've been to 3 straight Super Bowls. That hurts your draft capital. And they haven't, been able to surround their team with the young players. Plus, they start paying a bunch of the old players like Chris Jones, right? Who's been significantly less productive. You know, because he's old, and then you pay him a bunch of money instead of spending it on like a young guy, young stud. But just to talk a little bit more about it, because I do want the viewers to appreciate that you are watching I was talking a historically bad defense with the Bengals. This Texans defense is historically good. This is not just like they're a scary defense, you know, watch out. This is a defense that absolutely no one in the entire league wants to meet in the playoffs. It will rinse you 16.5 points per game. And now their offense can finally manage the game. Usually it's the other way around, right? But the offense can manage the game for the defense now. They've kind of figured out an identity a little bit on offense to just, you know, mitigate the rinses, rely on the defense, and you can put up 17 points and win the game, right? So I'm super, super hot on the Texans defense and how the Chiefs have been playing. I like them even better. Arrowhead's going to be a tough spot for them, but the Texans are playing for some playoff hopes right now. Yeah. And if they sneak into the playoffs, watch out, guys.
Yeah, so, I guess the question going forward is this still the time frame in the NFL to where you can win a championship with the defense?
It's possible, right?
Of course, you need a good defense to win a championship, but with the penalties that favor the offense, and we see the reference all over the place. I mean,
well, here's a stat for you. Tom Brady, all 7 Super Bowls, top 10 defense.
Right.
All right. So,
but they also okay. We're not going to compare Tom Brady to C.J. Stroud because we've already compared Tom Brady to Jacoby Brissett on this show. So
because it's a valid comparison.
It is.
It is absolutely set an NFL record. All right. Anyway, enough about fucking Jacoby Brissett.
This episode of the Sunday Script is brought to you by Woodman's Property Management. Are you looking for some place to live? Do you want to live in the Midwest? Are you looking for something luxurious while still being affordable? Then Woodman's has the property for you. Go ahead online or down in the link below and check out Woodman's Property Management for all your rental needs.
They're one of those games where we're talking about cross-country flights. Eagles come off the rinse to the Bears, and like I kind of mentioned earlier, suck it, honestly, Eagles. I don't even care that the Bears won. Like we were talking about how against the Bears, it kind of looked like the defense just quit. And I'm like at the point now, like, do the Eagles even want to play football, right? You got AJ Brown sobbing still. And just like how much do they miss the baby food eater? Saquon Barkley's like 40th in the league in rushing.
I know.
After a 2,000-yard season, AJ Brown's sobbing. Devontae Smith is like still really good, but Jalen Hurts, you know, he's getting the Daniel Jones treatment, right? The whole scheme last year was run the ball, mitigate Jalen Hurts throwing because he's not very good at it, and then, you know, you slam it down the field once or twice to A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. Well, now your run game sucks. Your O-line's bruised and battered, and they can't run, and Jalen Hurts has to throw, which he's not very good at. On the other side of the ball, I'm sure you guys can already see where this is going. On the other side of the ball, Justin Sherbert did have a small fracture, I believe, on his non-throwing hand. He underwent surgery. Yeah. So I don't know how many reps he's going to be getting in, but it is helpful that they're playing at home. They still have some offensive issues in terms of injuries. However, they might be getting Omarion Hampton back, which is great. It's in time for the playoffs. And despite the injury that he suffered, Justin Sherbert lit the field up last week. He was playing really good. He was, but I mean,
Raiders.
He's still playing good, man. Good game's a good game. It's the NFL. Despite the hand injury, it's non-throwing. If he doesn't exit the game, I can see the Chargers taking this one away. The Chargers defense is pretty good. And as I was saying earlier, the Eagles have done nothing on offense all season. They're like number 1 in punts, number 1 in 3 and outs. They can't move the ball in any rhythmic way. I'm going to lock in the Chargers on this one.
Yeah. Eagles are coming off that rinse to the Bears. They're getting booed to death on their home field, right? And Hurts is making errant throws. They're dropping catches. A.J. Brown didn't cry this week because he got 2 touchdowns and like 140 yards. So it kind of shows his character, right?
Yeah.
When they're losing and he's happy that he's getting the ball.
Yeah.
So he'd rather get the ball and get his production than actually have their team win, which is absolutely crazy to say. And like we talked about when we were talking about the Bears, their defensive line got absolutely, torn to pieces by the Bears.
Yeah.
It wasn't even close. And Chargers, on the other hand, coming off, comes to being the Raiders, not much we can talk about there. Like when the Jags beat the Titans, there's not much we can talk about. Herbert did have to have that surgery on his hand. He is going to go. According to my sources, he will be playing, so that's good for them. I kind of see this mimicking the Eagles' 2023 season when they started off really hot and then they lost 6 games and then they lost to the Bucs in the divisional round. And a lot of the issues with that was also because the year before they made the Super Bowl, right? Because Shane Steichen was the head coach. I mean, not the head coach, sorry, the OC.
Yep.
Shane Steichen leaves, goes to Indy,
favorite.
right? And then they rinsed that year in 2023, right? Baby Food Eater wins them a Super Bowl, and now they're bad again.
Yeah.
Right? So they're very play caller dependent, which is kind of why you need those play callers as your head coach. Kind of like we see with the Rams, Bears, Packers, Browns, Stefanski, Ferrari, right?
Yep.
And that's very important. But we're going to take the Chargers at home, who are the dogs at the moment, probably because of the Herbert injury, but it's his non-throwing hand, so he'll be okay. But Nick, do you think booing your team only makes them play worse? I feel like it's a big, morale. It's not a booster, that's for sure.
No, I definitely think that it makes the bad players play worse. Right now, we have a big heart issue that's just taken over football. No one's got any heart. And these guys have been competing for more than half their lives, probably most of their lives. So, I mean, when you hear the people that are there to support you start booing you down, that should put some energy, some wind in your sails, some charcoal in the engine so that you can actually get it done and win the game. But I think the people that got disheartened by it were the people that weren't putting 100% in. I mean, that's what I would think it is. I mean, if you're booing and you're taking that to heart and you're not getting fired up about it, then maybe start opening up your car dealership, start a podcast, do something else, because obviously football's not for
Insurance, sell insurance.
What I think about the booing thing, at least in the Bears game, I think it was really stupid, because the fact of the matter is that it was a pretty close game, and then you start booing your home team while they're on offense. Like, what is the thought process?
There is no thought process. They're dumb Eagles fans.
Yeah, it's true. Well, I guess that explains it all.
There is no thought process. They're spoiled brats. But that is the whole 14-leg slate this week for Week 14. 14 games for Week 14. We dove into a lot there, and we have more to dive into as we get into our takes this week. So we'll get into that right now with our Week 14 takes here on the Sunday Script. So my take for Week 14, I kind of mentioned it in the intro a little bit, but it seems like that the powerhouses that once were have a closing Super Bowl window. I'm talking about the Chiefs. I'm talking about the Ravens. I'm talking about the Bills. I'm talking about the Bengals, Lions, Eagles, and so on. I think we're finally starting to see, when Brady retired, right, we had Mahomes and Allen and Burrow. I think now we're going to start to see that complete new wave of young quarterbacks come into the league and kind of take their spot. I'm talking, of course, about Drake May. Jaden was fantastic when he played last year. Caleb should only get better. Bo Pix might get better, even though he's already 28 years old, right? But a lot of people from that class specifically, not as much this year's class. This year's class sucks. Cam Ward's a rinse. But we see it. Lamar can't win a Super Bowl anyways. I mean, you're not going to win a Super Bowl with Lamar ever. The play style doesn't work, and he barely can run right now. Josh Allen has no weapons. Mahomes has played too many games, and Joe Burrow is just hurt all the time, right? Lions are in shambles, and the Eagles might have a Jalen Hurts problem. So the whole narrative of which teams are good and which teams can dominate for the next 5 years in the NFL has changed, and it's really good to see, because I was sick of watching Bills-Chiefs every AFC championship. So maybe we get, Patriots-Broncos or something along those lines. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see this year for sure.
All right, and for my take this week, Tim already touched on it a little bit, saying that Mike Tomlin is in the hot seat. I'm going to take it a step further. I think the entire Steelers organization is on the hot seat. The Steelers are absolutely due for an entire brand new rebuild of their team. They have spent hundreds of millions of dollars on old defensive stars who aren't what they were before. They're not spending any money on quarterbacks. You get a 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers, who's still all right, but you need a franchise quarterback. You need some offensive weapons, and with that is going to come a new offensive coach. They're going to need to absolutely tear it down and build it back up again. What they've been trying to do is gloss over the rebuild and, we'll have our rebuild year be a 9-8 season or something like that, a 10-7 season, something like that, and maybe a 8-9 season. You need to cut the expensive players who aren't doing it for you. Get some draft capital. Maybe you tank a season or two. Maybe you have a 5-12 season like the Bears, right? And then get a new coach.
They're not that bad.
Well, no, but I'm just saying, they're due for a rebuild. They haven't had a losing season in 20 years. But how far does a, plus 500 season get you? You're not dominant. You haven't been to the Super Bowl in forever. You haven't even really won any good playoff games in that long. So I think the Steelers are due. They need a full rebuild. It's going to start with Tomlin, exiting his position. He's been great, Hall of Fame coach, but it's ran its course. Get a new coach, get a new quarterback, tear it down, build it back up, and maybe we'll see the Steelers of olden days.
And my take this week, short and sweet. It's about the Monday night and Thursday night games. They need to happen far earlier in the day. I am so tired. 7:30 rolls around, the game's starting. I'm trying to do stuff the next day. I mean, who's got time to be up till 11 o'clock watching two teams battle it out over 1 point? I feel like we at least are in Central Time. I feel like the game should definitely be at 6 our time. Everyone's happy. The people in California can get off of work, watch the game on the long traffic home, and the people in New York will appreciate it even more. And that's what I want to see from the NFL next season.
All right, and with that, we will get into the Week 14 rundown here on the Sunday script. Thursday night rinse. Cowboys going into Detroit. Playoff game for both these teams. We're going to take Jura's team. We're going to take the Dallas Cowgirls to win this game. Titans, Browns, battle of the shitters. We're going to take the Browns in Cleveland. Steelers, Ravens, AFC North matchup. We're going to take Baltimore and Lamar. We're going to take the Ravens this week. Colts, Jags, an AFC South matchup. We're going to take Duval and the Jags and that piss-filled pool. Commanders, Vikings. We're going to take Skull Vikes at US Bank Stadium. Good thing you don't play outside because it'll be freezing in Minnesota this weekend. Bengals, Bills. Give us Joe Burr and the Bengals to get a win this week on the Sunday script. Dolphins, Jets. Dolphins win streak comes to an end and the Jets start their own. We're going to take the Jets at MetDeath to win this week. Seahawks, Falcons, Battle of the Birds. Give us the ones out west. We're going to take the Seattle Seahawks. Saints, Bucks. Bucks should win the NFC South. We're going to take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to win this divisional matchup. Broncos, Raiders, an AFC West matchup. We're going to take just the overall better team. Raiders are done. We're going to take the Denver Broncos. Rams, Cardinals. Whose house? Rams house in the red zone. We're going to take the Rams this week on the Sunday script. Bears, Packers in the biggest rivalry in all of sports. We're going to take the Bears to go into Lambeau and get a win. Texans, Chiefs, another playoff-like game. We're going to take the Horns. We're going to take the Houston Texans to beat Mahomes in Arrowhead. And for the Monday night finisher, we're going to take Jim Harbaugh, Justin Herbert in one hand, and the Bolts in SoFi to win on the Monday night finisher this week. And that is your Week 14 rundown here on the Sunday script. We hope to see you next week where you will be significantly richer and so will we. We'll see you next week on the Sunday Script.